What's an extremely controversial opinion you hold? The child left behind is crap, and in relation to that, not everyone is meant to go to college. As an alternative to college, there needs to be better support for apprenticeships and trade schools. People who learn a craft/trade and execute it well are going to be making more than a lot of people with bachelor's degrees in the not too distant future. Even financial services can be outsourced now. We can perform remote surgery, but you still can't hammer a nail over the internet. All immigrants, to whatever country, must learn the language to a conversational level. There should be no barrier to communication whatsoever. There should not be translation departments for every council. When I came to America, I learned English because that's what people speak. I don't see how people can just not learn English when they come here. I mean, if you came to Russia, I know you'd at least learn a little Russian first. My Russian friend, in reference to an argument with his Spanish teacher, who thinks we should accommodate people who just don't want to learn English. Yeah, absolutely agree. Why the hell do you think you can go to another country and ignore their language, making life difficult for everyone who wants to communicate with you? By not learning the language, you are making it harder for people to interact with you, and thus you will most likely have a harder time socializing and integrating yourself into society. Emo people who refuse to learn English are usually very old, like a babushka, and that can be forgiven. Come on. Old people are old, let them be. Or they are people who have no intention to participate in the society they just emigrated to. I take people like this to be shady because they want to come to another country and avoid people, avoid interacting, and only be around people like them or of their race and culture. Imo that is xenophobic and causes social problems. I mean, when I went to China for 2 months, I didn't try speaking English with the street vendors, nor did I seclude myself in international only areas or hang out exclusively with white people. I actually did my best to speak Chinese. I was terrible, but you would be surprised how it can work out sometimes, and basically hung out with as many Chinese kids my age that I could. Otherwise, going to China would be a complete waste. Euthanasia should be legalized. I don't think that is very controversial, at least not in much of Europe. Doctors, in the UK at least, already have a set of procedures for dealing with cases when this comes up, although they keep very quiet about it. I have a few, but only 2 come to mind right now. 1. We are not all born equal, physically or socially. There are those who are born more capable than others. 2. Connected to the first, retarded kids should be given a very basic free education to approach as self-sufficient as their disorder allows, but not waste tons of taxpayers' money so that they can graduate and play with sticks and budgers all day. My high school had a special lift installed for a physically and mentally disabled kid in a wheelchair who had almost no concept of what was going on most of the time. He mostly just made noises in various classes, and probably still does that all day long. I'd agree with your opinion, and maybe even take it a step further. High school should have way more life skills now than the traditional schooling we currently receive has. Classic literature is great, but most students do not have the depth of thinking to benefit from it. Redid next curriculum for normal students. 1. Finances balancing checkbook, keeping a budget, pitfalls of credit. Incredibly important in today's world. 2. Empathy, attempting to give kids the ability to look through another person's eyes, understand why some people make different choices, and not condemn others for being different. 3. Critical thinking, have the students look at a problem and identify why it is a problem, then working towards a solution. Thinking outside of the box. 4. Drugs, alcohol, sex. Today's youth needs a much more in-depth program on these issues to be able to make informed decisions. When you tell them weed and heroin are terrible, they try weed and find out it's not terrible. They think you're lying about heroin. Too big mistake. 5. Expanded shop classes. I'm not talking about building stupid wooden shelves. Kids should learn how basic plumbing, electric, and mechanical things work, and how to troubleshoot/fix them. Automotive repair should also be touched upon. 6. Nutritionists should be higher on my list. Food is cheap, quick or nutritious. Pick 2. We need to teach kids how to prepare cheap, nutritious meals. Teach them how to make a big meal on Sunday so they can pack their lunches and save money while eating quick and healthy. 7. Math up to algebra. Most students are right when they say they won't need this math. Make sure they are super proficient in everything up to algebra, and they'll be much better suited for everyday life than if they get frustrated with higher math and shun it all. If I may criticize point number 7, I believe math up to geometry, as well as a basic course in Newtonian physics, would serve the general population very well. Stopping at algebra would not work, especially in conjunction with expanded shop classes. However, I really do like the ideas you've put out here, and I wish they got merit outside of, well, comma. Most black women I've met are rude. One of my friends, she is one of the nicest, most down-to-earth people I know, but she's the only one I've met really. It seems like 99% of black women I encounter are really rude and unfriendly. I'm not racist at all, this is just something I've observed. My brother agrees and thinks it could be a cultural thing, stemming from families of African origin, where the woman is dominant, and so they don't afford others as much respect. I don't know if that's true or accurate, but would be interested to know others' thoughts on this. If you are a black woman, I would like to know what you think about this. I'm neither black nor female, but offhand I'd say, being a black woman means having to put up with an incredible amount of crap all the time. Honestly, I've never noticed black women being more rude than women of other ethnic origins. But if it just so happens that they are, then I would wager this is the reason. For one, they are not predisposed to the ideal beauty type. I could not imagine having to chemically treat my hair every few months just to make it straight, and then tack in a bunch of other people's hair just to make it look fuller because nappy hair is unattractive, or feel pressure to bleach my skin just to make it one shade lighter. Regarding the financial crisis, the people who made $8.50/HR and took out $500,000 mortgages should be blamed, much like the folks on Wall Street. Predatory lending aside, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. The housing crisis of 2005-207 was a series of links in a chain of people getting approval to do things they knew were unsustainable. Home buyers took loans they knew were unsustainable, but they were told would be okay. Loan officers marketed and approved loans to people they knew were a bad credit risk. Mortgage bankers sold mortgages to investment banks that they knew were bad loans. Investment bankers bundled mortgages they knew to be bad with good ones to hedge the risk. Rating agencies rating AAA bonds full of toxic assets they knew to be money bad. Funds accepted AAA rated bonds they knew to be poorly rated and kept pumping pension money, savings, and investment capital into an inflated bad market. Diet soft drinks are bad for you. I don't really get why so many people insist on labeling all consumables good or bad. Can we not accept that almost everything is okay to eat/drink in moderation, but there are numerous things out there that in excess can hurt you? Waiters and retail workers are not the downtrodden, unsung folk heroes of my time. I get that there's asshole customers here and there, but there's also an army of disrespectful, sullen, unhelpful, and incompetent service workers in America today, and I refuse to treat them like they're some kind of saints. As a former waiter, I agree. I'm just trying to do a good job and make a little bank in the process. It's a freaking honest living. I don't need a pat on the back for it, just pay me. Stop sending aid to Africa. They will never learn to sustain themselves otherwise. They rely so much on aid that they have not learned how to regulate their population. Sure, help them get educated, but beyond that, it needs to stop, or it will never get better. You do realize the first world is largely responsible for Africa's problems, don't you? Our society was built on the backs of exploited third world workers. We cut up the African continent without regards to the people there and stole their natural resources. I agree that sending money doesn't really help fix things, but we can't just tell them to work crap out themselves. It is way too late for that. We should be building schools, upgrading their infrastructure, and dismantling corrupt businesses/governments that continue the exploitation. Africa is messed up at this point. If we want to see Africa pull itself up out of the mud, we are going to need to give them a hand. I'm American. I also hate the US military and think that the deification of the common soldier is disgusting. The sole purpose of any military, is either to destroy or at least present the threat of destruction. Basically, the military's market is death, and an enlightened society should never glorify death. Moreover, the random US soldier isn't exactly something to aspire to. They generally come from the dregs of society without much education, and don't exactly represent the ideal citizen. I have to agree, and I'd like to throw police officers and firemen in there as well. ESP after 9/11. I just cringe when I watch talk shows, or the news, or I roll when I see people giving verbal handjobs to anyone in some sort of uniform, calling them heroes, and thanking them for their service. You have to earn the title of hero, you don't just become one because you applied for a certain job. I can't agree with the fireman part. They run towards dangerous situations to save the lives of people they have never met. They don't carry weapons or intend to do any harm to anyone. They literally protect us as we sleep in our homes. They are worthy of some recognition and thanks. I don't believe in ADD and ADHD, or at least I feel the problem can be solved through diet and lifestyle changes. Prescribing amphetamines is absolutely ridiculous. I agree with you on the second point, but ADD and ADHD are 100% real. As a kid I went to every doctor imaginable and even had my brain scanned a bunch of times. ADHD is very real and very difficult, but I do admit that the drugs never helped me. What helped was therapy, dietary changes, and parents and a school that really supported me and tried to help me. I do think the drugs can help some people, but most parents/teachers use them as a crutch for kids they don't want to deal with. It is discouraging that the overprescribed drugs make people think the disease isn't real. Religion can be an okay thing if it simply provides comfort and doesn't become a tool of control for somebody. Abortion should be allowed in a highly selective, regulated manner. Sex education should be just that, education. Teach them about contraceptive usage and what goes on in their bodies, not don't ever have sex or your mother will weep. Not all Republicans are stupid, many are intelligent, but the fringe minority is the loudest. Same for Democrats. Most political opinions are wrong, and the middle of the road is usually the most sensible option. Many atheists are simply becoming a godless version of religious members. I'm non-religious and comfortable with that. I think most people have the capacity to find both sexes attractive, just typically one more than the other. MOs of life is different shades and hues of grey, and you can't simply generalize things into two categories. Laws should never be based upon religion in a democratic country, because then it becomes a theocracy. Not sure if those are controversial, but most people I know try to argue about them with me. I believe humanity will always be perfectly fine one way or another. There will always be ups and downs, but overall I think all this moaning about what a terrible state the world is/was/will be/could be into is utterly redundant. Humanity as a whole is, at the moment, strong, and its main objective, to survive and conquer to survive, is far more likely to be impeded by external factors than by internal squabbles. I believe we are all way too antisocial over nothing, and most of these squabbles are brought on by a lack of real threats to fight against. I'm sure that in front of an external threat, we'd all unite to work together at the blink of an eye. We like each other, we say we don't, but we are the only ones we've got. I also don't think homosexuality, and others, should be accepted as something normal. I believe it's a mix of genetic and environmental factors, and, equal rights as it should have, it shouldn't be considered normal, and we should try and fix it if possible. Gender changes in particular should be illegal. I'm pro legalization, and heck, I smoke some myself, but I would not have a single problem if it were to stay illegal. I would even prefer all drugs to be eliminated altogether. Totalitarianism isn't bad. It's possible to be totalitarian and good, but I believe the reason it doesn't work is because people have a natural tendency to eventually break rules, no matter what the rules are. I don't think we should kill people based on IQ no more than we should kill them based on skin color. Atheism is bad because it has no real moral ground. It leads to chaos, not a permanent state though, because no one can be objectively right or wrong when it comes to morals.